On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
I want to know after 38 years, after 1.5 billion in sales for your clients, creating thousands and thousands of campaigns, you're here on a podcast, still promoting, still pushing, you're still doing the game of business. What's deep down inside of Jeff that is just burning?
You are getting me pumped up here, Chaz. I'll tell you. I love that intro. Truthfully, I think there may be a job at the WWE for you as well. Biggest decision of my life. So I am one of the acknowledged creators of the infomercial. I created the first skincare infomercial. Every time you see a woman say, I put it on and it changed my life. You know, I'm having better sex. My friends notice. I look younger. I have more confidence. That's me. I was the first guy to do that. It was called Love Your Skin. It was a infomercial in 1985. I was the first guy to actually broadcast, take a broadcast version of the Avon at that period and dump it off to a tape and broadcast it. I did a series on the Travel Channel called On Vacation, and it was the first time it had ever gone from a computer to TV.
Wow.
So those are the revolutionary things that changed it. I don't recommend it, but it happened. It fell in my lap. I got into a business that didn't exist. There was no such thing as direct selling.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in.
What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. I'm back with you here today. I'm your host. Got another king here on the king stage, Jeff Metzler. My brother Jeff, bring the energy, my man. How we doing?
All right. Chaz Wolfe, the legend, the myth,
That's
the
right.
mystical and illuminating king of podcasts. Nice to meet you.
I'm thankful that you're here. You know, in some of our communications with you before the show, I was very much made aware through my team that I was going to be meeting a fast-paced New Yorker who was going to bring the heat and expected me to as well. And I thought, well, this is my kind of guy. So here we are. Tell us what kind of business that you got, Jeff.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me on. And I was really looking forward to this show because it's going to allot me the time. I've been on a million of these and, you know, everything in between. But this is going to allot me the time to give your viewers a full picture of a beginning to end of a business and an industry that didn't exist, that skyrocketed up and is gliding downward. So
Wow.
I think it'll be interesting for any entrepreneur. Certainly the stories hopefully will be entertaining. So thanks again.
This is where we slip into the end and say, stay to the end. We've got a special surprise for you.
Well, there's always more. Yeah.
There's always more. That's right. That's right.
Sure. We'll pivot to that. So Metzler Media has been in business for 38 years. Basically, let's describe the shop. The shop is a full service creative, you know, copywriting, production, post-production, graphics, and manufacturing, distribution, customer service, retail, packaging, design. Literally, we're retail vendors at most of the majors. We sell internationally. We're vendors at home shopping. So anything that you can promote, sell, and distribute, Metzler Media does. We produce, you know, infomercials, commercials of every single length, webmercials, TikTok, you name it, we do it. We have done 2,000 campaigns to date, totaling over 1.5 billion in sales. We work with entrepreneurs, inventors, Fortune 50 companies. Our last client, our biggest client was a top 50, 100 billion plus client, and everything in between. Anybody who wants to get somewhere to promote or sell, that's what we do.
Yeah, I love that, how encompassing that is, but yet so direct. I don't know if I could have done.
That's what I do. Direct to consumer, direct to business, direct.
That's right.
Nothing in between.
I love it. I love it. Exactly. Well, I think like you said, you're going to give us plenty of value here today. You've got such a resume of experience and also the ups and downs that we want to hear about. But I want to know after 38 years, after 1.5 billion in sales for your clients, creating thousands and thousands of campaigns, you're here on a podcast, still promoting, still pushing, you're still doing the game of business. What's deep down inside of Jeff that is just burning?
You are getting me pumped up here, Chaz. I'll tell you. I love that intro. Truthfully, I think there may be a job at the WWE for you as well.
I love that.
So, this is the easiest question that anybody ever asks me because most of the people I know are retired or dead or, still, there are still some, obviously I'm still working. But the answer is this. Every day I wake up, it's like my first day. I have something to look forward to. I have some challenge. I have something that's going to stimulate me. It's something that I could connect with. It's something that's going to occupy my time. I'm going to be able to learn new things. The mind dies when you stop learning, right?
That's right.
So, I'm always finding new things, whether it's technology or how businesses change, anything like that. Another thing is defying the odds. I mean, ageism is an epidemic in this country. It's awful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I will go into a couple of things that I've experienced of my age, which is really disheartening. And it's really, truthfully insulting because when you discard age and history, then you're doomed to make the same mistakes twice, over and over again. So why not use people like me? I mean, the first time I heard "okay, boomer," I was like, whoa, you're talking to the wrong guy. Just being told that you're worthless and you should dig a hole and jump in and throw some dirt on yourself, that encourages me to continue to go on and to do new things, make new breakthroughs, continue to try different things and to expand the horizon. And ultimately, just deal with the process that's in front of you, not the same one. If you keep doing the same one, that's insanity, right? The result won't change and ultimately you go down. But if you continue to evolve, that's exciting, that keeps me energized. Okay. And also just technology, and all of the different things that make people react. That to me is exciting. What creates the dopamine flow in a people's brain where they look at you and they go, I'm not interested. And then like literally 30, 60, 2 minutes later, they're like, well, that's it. Does it? Oh, it does? Well, yeah, well, you can't give me that price? That's the thing that drives me. So, you know what? And last thing I'll leave you with, sellers never retire.
That's right. Well, gosh, there's like so much juice in that answer. I think you covered so many different entrepreneurs listening here today and relatability, but it's the game. I heard you say you get to play the game again.
Yeah, well, man, listen, if you're playing a game that you don't like or that you're doing it for the money, it gets tired. You just don't want to play. Actually, there's an expression. I have an expression for most things, by the way. The expression is, who do I have to pay to get off of this job? I mean, I see that on a set when I'm, we're shooting and it starts off and nobody knows each other and everybody's excited and then they cross, and by the end of that, long, treacherous, anarchy of a day, you're just like, oh my God, who do I got to pay to get away? Who do I got to pay to get off this and go home? So it's an evolution. There's a bell curve of everything, and then eventually it goes the other way. So, those are the things that I think.
Well, and you keep finding those new things to reinvigorate the bell curve to like keep it from going back down. Which I think
the
is
only way. Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good.
I will do that because we're not arrogant New Yorkers. We're aggressive or abrasive. we have so much to say and so little time to say. So if I do that, I apologize for every one of them. Yeah, ultimately, I feel that I'm gathering information from as many people as I can, and that's what stirs the creativity. I mean, I go to sleep, you look at something over and over and over, and you think, there's something wrong with it, and then you go to sleep, and you have one conversation, boom, the thing that makes it different or going to make it successful or the answer that you're looking for, it comes.
Yeah.
So it's constantly staying active and interacting with people who are better than you and not better than you. Either way, you learn something.
Yeah, no, I love that open-mindedness is really what it is. It's a conduit of learning as opposed to a closed loop. That I mean, you close the loop and it's done. Like I'm not interested in that.
Let me give you another example of things that I absolutely see and have learned over the years. There are only two types of people:
Okay.
people who play it close to the vest and listen, and they go like this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or people like you and I
Yeah.
who want to share, right? You want to give as much as you can because that's when you get back. There's a trust factor. There's a opportunity to mutually exchange on an equal
Yeah.
basis.
Right.
And then ultimately, that to me is the kind of person that usually I want to deal with, not somebody
Yeah.
who I feel is they're holding back.
Yeah.
So, you
Well,
know,
there's you made the mention of it. There's no flow. If there's no flow, then we can't do anything. And it's so interesting that you say it like that because I felt this for a long time because on the like I use Culture Index or the DISC profile. Naturally, I'm introverted. And people are like, "Wait a second, what 400 plus podcasts, you've been in sales for 20 years, you have 14 different companies." It's like, "Yeah, like really when you boil me down, I love to be in the woods where it's quiet." But I have learned the value of what Jeff's talking about, which is if I don't give or exchange or create flow sometimes, if I'm the only one creating it, fine. But there's got to be flow for value. Would you agree?
100%. And you know what? Life is only good. Life, TV, and business is only good if there's contrast.
Yeah.
So look, I live in been living here my whole life, born and bred guy. I'll tell you actually an interesting story about how I grew up and where, because everybody will go, oh my God. There has to be a give and take and an ebb and a flow. Otherwise, everything is flat. If you're hearing heavy metal music and all you hear is shredding,
Right.
that gets tiring no matter how fast. For the first, song or two, you go, whoa, that guy can shred. And then you hear 45 minutes more of that, and you're like, it sounds like the same thing.
Right.
So when, I live in this fast-paced city and it never sleeps. It's 20 hours a day and it's, constantly being bombarded with all sorts of things. But then I need those quiet moments. As you said, you need to get the mind to a different place, bring it down and build it back up again. And that's important in terms of your mental health and being able to connect and also recharge. And that also helps you tolerate a lot of things that may frustrate you with other people and doing business and problems and everything else. So
Oh yeah.
I'm not a patient guy, obviously, by by nature, but I've learned to be, and I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, I wouldn't put myself in the patient category either. But what we're talking about is poise and knowing what to do, when to do it, because it's the right move, not necessarily because my natural sense of urgency it can't be bridled. The story that you've got here, you kind of dropped a little bit of a nugget on us at the very beginning, saying that you've been in the industry now 38 years. It's gone up, it's coming down.
I've been in the industry a lot longer. I've been in business for 38 years.
Love that. Okay, so give us this, multi-decade history in a couple of minutes. Give us the fast-forwarded version, the New York style.
All right. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be New York style. It's a chronological story. So ultimately, I started in the business. I'm one of the few people left that has spanned the film, video, and nonlinear. Okay. So there's 3 different phases of being able to create marketing, advertising, some sort of communication. So that is interesting in and of itself because that is how my career, sort of pivoted or transitioned from one to the other. So I started on Madison Avenue. I worked at a production company that had 5 directors. It had an in-house editing suite. And I had an offer to either become a cameraman and crew guy or a post-production or an editor. Well, the editor had its own little office by itself. And I saw the chaos of the production. And I go, I like the editing, So I ended up starting as a film editor in a very major production company that shot 30-second at Madison Avenue commercials. Okay. I met a guy, I was the projectionist. I did a whole slew, you do everything. I met a guy who owned the post-production company that edited film. I asked him, if he needed an assistant. He said yes. That's how I learned my chops in the advertising and commercial editing business and production. I watched, how directors worked. I looked at set and costume and casting and everything else, and basically learned the format. And then I started my business in 1985. Okay, so I started my own commercial editing business in 85. I also knew at that point that doing 30-second and 60-second commercials for Madison Avenue with people who are basically just fearing for their jobs and justifying their existences every day, usually at my expense, was not my future. This is not going to work. I can make a lot of money, but I am going to be beaten and miserable. So I had a friend who was the creative director at Doyle Dane Burbank, I believe, at that time, and he said, "Hey, Jeff, Ronald Reagan deregulated the cable industry, and you can buy half-hour times for like nothing." I go, "So?"
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I'm going to start making commercials for a half hour and buying the time and selling the product on TV." I go, "What?" I said, what are you going to do in half an hour? What can you possibly fill on toothpaste or whatever it is? So he said, here, famous words, "Everything you can't do in a 30-second, you can do in 30 minutes.
30 minutes. That's right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm in. Biggest decision of my life. So I am one of the acknowledged creators of the infomercial. I created the first skincare infomercial. Every time you see a woman say, "Oh my God, I changed it. I put it on and it changed my life. I'm having better sex. My friends notice. I look younger. I have more confidence." That's me. I was the first guy to do that. It was called Love Your Skin. It was a infomercial in 1985. It was also done in Spanish, first Spanish infomercial ever.
Wow.
Also the first $100 million grossing infomercial of all time. So that's how I started and go, wow, this is powerful.
Yeah.
So that is how I've evolved all the way to where I am today. 2,000 campaigns later, and selling everything from $5 to $500,000 items, and everything in between. I've started some other companies, as I've gone along the way and spun off, and we had, different types of things, but all within the direct to consumer business and all selling. Okay. And it also took me from editing to directing to producing, and then into marketing and licensing and distribution, because ultimately that's how you make money. I wasn't a salary guy. I worked for somebody for like 2 years and said, I think we discussed this prior, it's like, that schlummy is making money. I'm like, I'm smarter than that guy. I know I can do it. And I did. I started literally with 2 clients and maybe 1.5. And I said, I'm going to make it happen. And, I don't want to tell you what happened at home, but I had the support of my parents and I did it, and it just happened. It just evolved. And listen, I was also by the way, I'm just going to bring this up. So I was one of the first 5 nonlinear editors of nonlinear computer editing in the world. Okay.
Wow.
When people were editing film and videotape, and the computer came in and said, "Hey, you could edit, on a computer." People were like, first of all, most people didn't even have a computer.
Right.
And it was like click and drag. Like, what is that? That sounds like, a dance. So I went to a demonstration of Avid technology, and I immediately, with a few other guys, 4 of them walked out, and I said, "I'll take it." Wow. And it was literally like as raw as it could be, but then you could click and drag and cut and make versions in literally, 5 seconds, even though the quality was like, that's why I'm wearing glasses today, basically. But ultimately, I'm like, that's the future. And here it is. Here's my certificate. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, there you go. Love it.
I think it says, where is it? Right here. 1990.
Wow.
Okay, so it's 33 years ago that I got the certificate, and that also changed my life, because all the guys in my business at that time, we were a cooperative of editors, were like, "You're going to lose your business. You're going to fly off the end of the earth, and you'll never see your film again." And of course, I was giving demonstrations to agency people at that period of time, and I cut the first infomercial on that as well. And I was the first guy to actually broadcast, take a broadcast version of the Avid at that period and dump it off to a tape and broadcast it. I did a series for the Travel Channel called On Vacation, and it was the first time it had ever gone from a computer to TV.
Wow.
So those are the revolutionary things that changed it. And I took a risk. I've always been a risk taker, but I always
Yeah.
hedge my bet. I always have a backup. That's very, very important. And that's what I would say to the people that are listening, and the viewers, and anybody who's a business owner or thinking about it or working at a high end job and saying, hey, I'm going to put out my own shingle. Make sure you have a backup. I mean, it's
Yeah.
one thing to be confident, but it's another thing to put all your eggs in one basket and then boom, it just doesn't work, and it may not be your fault. Let me
Yeah.
give you another example. See, I have a lot of stories.
A whole basket full of them.
I could fill up 3 books. So the as you could see, the advertising and marketing business was changing, and it was changing in a technological way, and I was embracing it at that point, and there were a lot of
Yeah.
laggards. And first in wins. That's another expression. First in wins. Okay. So there were a number of guys that I knew who owned all of these video editing shops. They did film to tape transfers. They edited on tape, which was still, very popular. When the computer editing started, you still had to take your cut and get it to a high resolution onto a piece of tape so you could broadcast it throughout the world, whatever. And those guys were buying the best technology, and they were charging at that time, like, we're talking, in the 80s, $400 to $500 an hour, which was an enormous amount of money, but you had no choice. But they also had to pay $500,000 for that machine, and eventually technology wears out. So I never put all my eggs in one basket in terms of technology, because it's constantly changing, and every one of those guys eventually went this way. There were a couple of people left who sucked up the rest of the business, who was still vital. But those people who invested in one thing of a technology, thinking this was it, they were going to corner the market. There is no cornering the market.
Yeah, it's interesting that you position this because, your business, you led into the story of that you were a forerunner. You were one of the first to use technology. And so, but in the same tongue-in-cheek sentence, it was, you didn't necessarily bring the technology or go all in on this one particular technology. What you said you went all in on is just forward progress in your business. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. I mean, the fact is that I embraced it. I had no idea what was going to happen. I mean, I heard these guys say, we could cut faster. I'll be able to beat a computer in terms of speed and efficiency any day of the week, and I'm like, famous last words. But, in the back of your mind, you're going, I hope this thing doesn't crash.
Right.
I need more storage. I wish this thing would start up, in under 20 minutes, whenever it was. But I knew that the fact that I could do something in 5 seconds that could take 2 or 3 days at that period of time, or I had a book time at $500 an hour to do for me, I knew this was the future, and I knew this was going to work. And I also knew from the infomercial side that when the phones started to ring, and literally thousands of women were buying these, skincare regimes and saying, I'll take the exfoliator and the night cream, and let me have the facial scrub or whatever. And they were like literally off the store. And then they were reordering, right? They were reordering month after month. And then they needed, customer service to answer the questions. I'm like, holy crap, this is insane. I mean, who would have ever thought that people would do that? I knew at that point that's a good risk, and I was also told, what from this guy, his name was Tom Fenton, who's my mentor in this business, and one of the founders of the actual infomercial and the NEMA, National Infomercial Marketing Association, which then turned into the Electronic Retailing Association, which is now defunct. These are guys who were visionaries. They were real entrepreneurs, because this is another interesting thing, and I don't recommend it, but it happened. It fell in my lap. I got into a business that didn't exist. There was no such thing as direct selling. I mean, there were a couple of things, the Weekly Reader, or the Digest, there were a couple of things on TV, but there was no business that was called infomercials or webmercials or infotainment or documercials or whatever you want to call these things, right? They didn't have it. Plus, there was only the phone. There was no technology when he started, right? You could only make a phone call to an operator to make an order. And then, that evolved to somebody said, hey, we can put video on the internet. No, you can't. No. People were using 60 cycle modems and dial-ups.
Right.
It was like the way that will work. And eventually it did. And people said, okay, we're going to put video on our website. Now we can actually take orders that way, right?
Yeah.
And it just kept evolving, right? And then, of course, now it is where it is today. And then eventually, where it is now, Amazon and all the other sellers pretty much destroyed the exclusivity of the business of direct selling exclusively on TV.
Right. Yeah.
You pivot. You change.
Yeah. Same business, just different format, right? What is, I mean, just this question keeps popping into my head. You've seen so many products sell out so incredibly fast, like the creams and the regimes and stuff that you were talking about. What is the mix? I mean, it's not an infomercial today necessarily that one of the listeners is going to go do, although they still exist. What is it? Is it a combination of video, authenticity, a good product? Like, what's the formula inside of the media, whatever platform it is, that gets the sale?
This is why you, sir, Chaz Wolfe, are the king of podcasts, because that is a great question. And that is the $1 million question on there is a method to the madness.
That's right.
It's not yelling and selling. Yes, it is, right? Or whatever, crying and buying. We have a million
Right.
of these things,
Right.
But there is an absolute formula to do these things, right? First of all, it's the category. And I don't know if I could recite them. I'm going to try my best. But
Okay.
my mentor, Tom, said, as long as we are human beings, these 5 categories will always sell. Beauty, weight loss, get rich quick, instant miracle. Let's see, and I'm missing one. There's one more, okay? But those are the things as human beings, our human nature is to do those things, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and getting younger. Staying younger, those things. So, and there's more now, but basically,
Sure.
that was said to me 38 years ago, maybe more, 40 years ago, and that still
Wow.
holds true. So that's first. The key, here you go. And I don't care what kind of advertising you do. It's a matter of the level that you do it and how you do it. And I don't care if you're a millennial now. And I'm a student of this, and I see 20 and 30-year-olds sell on TikTok and even on TV and everything else, and they're still using this format: problem, solution, efficacy, offer, enticement, guarantee. That's it.
It's good.
That's it. I just gave you the secret. Now, let me tell you another secret. Now that I've given away all my secrets, because you and I are having this broad-based conversation, and we're sharing everything, right? It's all off the chest.
Yeah.
I can give, and you the same, because you're a business owner. You could give anybody the ingredients to the cake. It's
That's right.
sugar, it's flour, it's baking soda. Doesn't mean they can make the cake.
Yeah. Nor does it mean that they will, even if they want to and know how to. Most won't.
Most won't. And listen, action speaks louder than words. Most people don't follow through with the things that they do, and I hear it all the time, and I see it from inventors and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And you got to. I've seen most of the time the things that I see that are very discouraging are running 90 yards in a 100-yard race and dropping out with 10 to go because it didn't go the way they thought the first time.
Yeah. Would you say I guess we're in the advertising media conversation. We just kind of gave a more blanket principle of, consistency or just following through. But how have you seen that principle specifically in your clients equate to winning on an infomercial or a TV set or TikTok or whatever it is that, media that you're performing now?
Yeah, let's segue that, because I'm not pigeonholed as a TV guy, because I'm not a TV guy. I'm a marketer.
Right.
We're vendors, at all the major retailers. We sell online. We're on Amazon. We have home shopping. We sell internationally. And by the way, I just want to make a disclaimer here. The infomercial and the direct response business is far from dead. I mean, you're talking about at its peak, probably globally about $400 billion in business. And it's probably, half half that now, maybe a little less, or I'm not really sure. I'm not involved. I mean, I was an officer in the electronic retailing, so I was privileged to a lot of this information, but it is far from dead. And internationally, it's growing by leaps and bounds. So, everything lags. We're past that point, but Europe is not. And a lot of times they don't use credit cards. So, I mean,
Right.
you have to measure it. It's relative to where it's being aired. But in terms of the marketing, what I do is only a piece of that cut up puzzle right now of being able to get a message or a product across to whoever you're trying to reach and communicate to either motivate them to buy, at least listen, pre-qualify, predispose, like you do that. So those are the things that ultimately that this kind of advertising does. And this method, it works and it continues to work because it cuts the clutter. It gets right to the crap. Subtlety does not sell. A product or a service will not sell itself. How many times have you heard, oh God, why did they start a commercial with that? Right? It's a car crash, or oh now, or even like, has this happened to you? Or it's a lawyer who's like, don't let them take advantage of you, because it gets your attention.
Yeah.
Then you have 5 seconds, maybe 9 at the most, to grab that person and hold them. And it doesn't matter what medium you're using them on. So let's just take it to commerce side, right? Walmart, right? We're going into Walmart. We have a product in Walmart. I deal with buyers all the time. And the presentations have to be absolutely precise. And you have to have all the answers. You got 2 meetings these days. COVID has blown everything up. There are no more, very few, if any, live meetings. You get 2 meetings, right? They look at your product. They say they like it. You get this call like we're doing now. You give them the answers. They give you an offer, and then you respond. And that's it, okay? Now, what I do and why it works is because I answer the questions before they're asked. This is key.
Yeah.
Right? So when somebody goes, yeah, but how much? Oh, well, yeah, okay, good. All right. And how big? Oh, 45 days? Oh, okay. So you're preempting any of the things, and that gives people confidence, and they go, this company, this product, they're on top of it, and it gives them the information without wasting their time and no back and forth. Because once you go back and forth with anybody, no matter what it is, the thing starts to slide the wrong way and hits the back burner and then off the stove.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this conversation, because before I was ever knew anything about marketing, I was in sales. And although there are nuances to make them similar, they're very different. But the principle that I learned, that's what you're saying, but in the sales hat, is pre-framing for objections. And it's the same thing. It's like you're answering questions because that's what marketing does. It brings information. Sales is obviously selling or overcoming objections or making the connection. Okay, fine. But I can pre-frame the entire sales process to get you to have no questions at the end or no objections, based on the information that I'm either gathering from you or giving to you, and pre-framing how you think about this situation that you're in, and how my product can save you time, money, effort, weight loss, all the beauty, all the things that you just said. And so when we get to the end, years and years and years in sales, it's a simple, like, okay, great, here we're going to get started, as opposed to, and then you have this wrestle, and then all these sales gurus sell
meeting about the last
exactly. It's like, we don't
backward.
need objection handling. We just need you to understand how to give them proper framing along the way, so that there are no questions or objections at the end, which is exactly what Jeff is giving to you from a marketing perspective.
You're good. You get it right away. You're hired. It's ultimately, it comes down to, that's not only the way that you're doing your advertising, it's the way you're setting up your corporation and your business, right? And I have a family of people that I've dealt with for years. It's constantly changing. Obviously, as I said, in my case, because of my age, it's like, what? He's dead? Oh, crap.
Who took over?
He was like, wait, no, I have a script for him. Tell him to undead himself. Kidding, and that's a bad thing. But ultimately, you constantly have to fill those key slots that will be able to get you the research with that information that you are 100% sure on. So when you do it, you're like, as I said, I hate to say that, like a cocky New Yorker, it's like, Yep. And those are the facts. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to say something and I want to make sure I can prove it. And I want to make sure I could, back it up. And it's not
Exactly.
just a bunch of, whatever, or I'm treading water and, I'm juggling balls to try to
Right.
wait until I have that answer because I know I don't have that answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that to me is strength. Let me give you an example on these things that I do. So we do these now with product people, with mid-sized companies that want to move to the next level, and truthfully, with these big $100 billion companies, they're looking for predisposed lead for a small cost per lead, cost per acquisition, it's a return on their revenue over a long period or whatever. But it all comes to the same thing. It's the same thing, which is being able to give people something direct that answers all the questions, right? Without wasting anybody's times, no loopholes, no flannery, and ultimately demonstrate exactly what you're saying. So with this Walmart product, I have this product. I would show it to you. Actually, I probably could, but I won't. So we did a 20-second video of how this product worked. This product has no moving parts. It's black. It's this big, okay? And it's a miracle. It's a miracle product, okay? And it's got a great tagline, But it'd have to prove that tagline, and we did it in 20 seconds. And when we got on the call with the GM and the buyer or the assistant buyer to Walmart, which is always like,
Yeah.
this was it. It was the best call ever. You know why? Because they had the product in their hand, and they were doing whatever it was that it did, and they said, how many, how quickly, and how
Makes
long
sense.
would it take?
Hey, kings and queens, Chaz Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other. Let's help each other grow. Yep.
We have
Yeah.
to answer questions.
Check the box, make the sale. How important in this process of pre-framing, or and that's in essence what you did. You did so good in that product demonstration that it answered all their questions. You pre-framed the entire situation. How important is confidence, but mixed with what you were just saying, that you actually have to prove what you're saying? Because what I see in marketing today, especially online, a lot of confidence, but then you get in and you're like, you don't actually do what you say. Like this, wait a second. This was all just smoke and mirrors. So obviously confidence is important. Obviously doing what you say is important, or being able to prove the claim. But how do those things work together? Because I see a whole lot of one and not the other in today's world.
And you nailed them all. You're nailing them all. You're nailing all the observations that people should see, and smart people do, and obviously decision makers do, when they see some flannery, or or I call them the great pretenders.
Yep.
That song. Now again. I wrote an article on that one. The great pretenders, people who pretend to be something they want to be or think they are or whatever it is, but they have nothing to back it up. So ultimately, listen, if I said a lot of these things and I came on with the kind of swagger that I have and I feel confident in doing, then ultimately, if I couldn't prove it out, they'd go, blowhard, BSer, yeah, he's got a great, and you get that reputation. It's a bad omen, not a way to go. You're not fooling anybody, and truthfully, you're not going to sell anything. You may be able to sell something once, but as soon as they have it, with the way the things are now, the reviews come, and you're screwed. It's like, this guy said it did this and it did that, or I went to this service, or these people there was the worst customer service, or whatever it might be. In your corporation, you can fool them once, but you're not fooling them again. So not a recommended way to go. Just have all your ducks in a row and do it. If it doesn't work, then don't do it. Don't attempt to put a Band-Aid or smoke screen over it. Also, another thing that people do all the time that I see, and I learned this lesson years ago, don't be all things to all people. You
Yeah.
cannot be all things to all people. You would like to be, and everybody likes to be liked by as many people or have their product or business liked by everybody, but it's not necessary. It's if you sell a left nostril inhaler, right? Then don't say, you've got a foot cream or whatever it is, or,
Right.
hey, stop it, you two, it's both. It's a dessert topping and a floor wax. Don't do that. Just sell it as a nostril inhaler, and that will give you much more credibility. And also, it doesn't dilute or spread your story or your message out. So you're focused in, laser focused, and anybody who's interested, that's the thing that I pride myself on, right? I'm not a mass emailing guy. I never advertised. People know me through my reputation and my successes and whatever else I've done. And, that either piss people off or made them happy or rich, and there's plenty of those. So, just do what you do best, and don't go out of your lane. That's what I always say, Most people try and go, hey, we could do this or we could make this work. Bad idea.
Yeah.
That would take you to the bad decisions questions, by the way.
Yeah. Well, good. Let me serve it up to you. Jeff, give us that moment in time or that story where you made just a terrible choice.
Well,
it probably cost you time, money, effort.
Well, Chad, I'm sad you brought that up. There are just too many dimensions, and truthfully, I don't want to. But
here we are.
But here we are, and here it is. Literally, I've made $1 million, and if I told you how much time, money, sleep, and aggravation that I lost over the years over them. There's plenty, but it's trial and error, live and learn, right? That's what you do, and that's what entrepreneurs do, and then you bounce back.
That's right. Yep.
So I just finished saying this. One of the bad decisions. One of them is stay in your lane. If you're in, like me, in marketing or product sales or creating packages or videos or distributing product to mass marketplaces for people to buy and enjoy and make their lives better or richer or sexier or whatever it is, that's what you should do. It's always the businesses and the people that I know who have wavered off to say, we're going to make this part of our business and that'll make us bigger and stronger. We're going to purchase this business. We're going to add it to our, list of whatever. That's when you fail, because you don't have expertise. It usually takes a lot of time and money, and ultimately it sucks your mainstream business. Well, it's one thing if you put a seed in the ground and over the years you grow this beautiful tree. That's how I always looked at my business. Get a nice thick tree trunk, right? Get the bark and make it thick, and then eventually you put in more seeds and more things grow out, right? That's fine.
Yeah.
But if your tree trunk ain't that thick, and you're starting other businesses, your chance of success, not good. So that was one of the lessons I learned. Hey, man, don't get into something you don't know. It looks like you can make money. Nothing's easy. Nothing takes 5 minutes. 2, don't do something that people don't know. So don't try to launch something that people are not educated in. It takes way too much time and effort. It's very difficult to change people's habits in their minds. Sometimes it takes years or a generation. It's like, cell phone. I'm not using a cell phone. What are you kidding? Look, I just dial right here. Hello, Bob, But how long did it take for people to go, why would you want that? Right?
Yeah.
And then eventually, when after they came down to this size and they were under, $1,000 or whatever, that's when people changed. But that took billions and billions, right? Don't do that. Don't do educated. Last thing, do not give up your leverage when it comes to your money.
What do you mean by that?
I knew you'd follow up that question, and I don't have an answer. No, no, I do, of course. Trust no one when it comes to your money, okay? I think many business owners can identify with me in this particular case. Is somewhere along the line, they got screwed. They either got screwed by non-payment, they got screwed by somebody internally, they got screwed by somebody who said they were going to do something and they did it. And they usually gave up the leverage of their money, meaning they paid before, they gave somebody terms, they discounted, thinking they were going to get one thing and they didn't. Big lesson. The people, and I hate to say this because I know you're a super nice guy, even though I know you for like 8 minutes. most of the guys that I know who are billionaires are pricks. I hate to say they're all nice guys. I'm sure of it. Maybe I've
they're shrewd or prudent is maybe a better word.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. I don't mince words. I'm not a Chaz Wolfe, so I do not mince words. And they're pricks. They're mean. They're underhanded. Sometimes they'll do things. Look, my industry is a very, very rough industry. And by the way, I don't look at the infomercial or the direct response as my industry. It's my main industry. Right now I'm an executive producer of a globally recognized TV show that's reaching 400 million people. So I've done a lot of programming, actually won an Emmy Award. So, again, lots of hats and do the things that you do best, right, when they come to you. But in the infomercial world, it is a rough and tumble world. It is not for the lighthearted. There is no regular income. There is a hit and miss. There's very little regular business. There are people coming in and going out. It's like the feature film business. You have 10 failures, but you get that one and it pays for those 10 and 20 more. So the money thing is a hard-learned lesson for most of us in the business, and you don't want to give it up if you don't have to. And I don't even care if it's your best friend or your roommate from college, because they'll all listen. When push comes to shove, that's a choice that is difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you're sharing what's real, but I guess my follow-up question to that is that I don't think that you've done this because the energy that you've displayed here today isn't a negative industry or energy.
No,
but what you just described though can turn someone cynical, right? It can be like, I trust nobody, and so then it turns into like a negative outward expression of, like disbelief, basically. So how do you take the disbelief or I am pretty certain that someone somewhere somehow is going to take advantage of me? How do I protect myself but still have great energy like you do?
Beautiful. Yeah, man, it's two-sided, okay? First of all, as a businessman, a successful entrepreneur, you have an innate sense of something doesn't smell right.
That's right.
When you meet somebody, the way they shake your hand, the way they look at you,
right.
You can't go by reputation. Look, their reputations may or may not be justified from what you've learned, right?
Right.
Of course, it's nice to get a review and do research on somebody when you're doing, and you can do that these days quite well. And certainly within our industry, I know every single person who ever existed in this industry. So I'll find out who they are and what they've done and where they started, if I didn't know already, right?
Right.
And believe me, you don't have to do business with people you like, right? As long as they're up and up, you can do business with the people you don't like. That's perfectly okay. And I've done that many times. Or people you started liking and then not liking.
Sure. Yeah.
Ultimately, that's first. Is your side is what is your innate sense? What does your gut tell you? That's an important thing. So you have to be on guard because, people who are really good at manipulating other people into doing what they want. And there are people in the public eye that are extremely good at doing this. And then the second half of it is that those people, as I said, you said, what did you say? Shrewd and prudent?
Yeah.
Whoa, man, I don't think any of these people maybe they would describe themselves that way, but ultimately, listen, it's dog eat dog. They're going to feel justified in what they do. And ultimately, in my business, in the small world, the big dog always eats the little dog. I mean, it's very rare that you see somebody market, distribute, violate a patent or whatever it might be, and that small guy wins.
Right.
Okay. So that's just the cost of doing business for a lot of businesses, I hate to say.
Yeah. Well, it's the reason why entrepreneurship exists, because we still believe, we still have hope, we have courage. Then it doesn't mean I lose every single time, because everybody that we're talking to, these are all small business owners. We're not talking to big dogs. Even if you're doing 200 or 300 million, like that's really not a big dog business.
Wait, let me clarify. I was doomsdaying there. That's bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be negative to anyone out there or sound like I'm a Debbie Downer or whatever it is.
Totally.
I deal with really cool people, and listen, I've been lucky enough to be able to choose the people that I want to deal with, and even the ones that I knew I didn't want to, I forced myself to do jobs with them and projects and collaborations to see what happened. Let me see it firsthand.
Exactly.
Many times it proved out. It was exactly what people had told me, but I experienced it.
Right.
I also knew what I didn't want to do and how I could fade away from it, right? And
Right.
in this particular case, it was like I'm like, Chad Wolfe, forget it. First class guy, no question. This is a guy I would do business. It's mano a mano. We share. We're both in it for the same thing. Nobody goes broke splitting profit. Another one of my greatest, sayings. And I have a chain of people, from
Yeah.
reps, fulfillment companies, entrepreneurs, venture capital people. Well, I mean, these are solid people who understand. And you let a professional do your job. That's usually where it comes to. It's a power thing, right? It's money and power. So if you're dealing with somebody who wants to, again, two types of people in a business: those who are hired for their expertise, and those who are hired to do what the person who is paying them to do, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You're either a pair of hands, or they're like, hey, give me the plan, show me where the money's going to go, do it. Right? Those are my people. Those are my people. Like, Jeff, we know your reputation. We know what you're going to do. A lot of people don't even want to know. They're like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this now. Okay, don't send me as many emails. It's too many. It's incredible. This is your money. I want you to know. I'm going to be transparent.
Right.
So those are the people in this industry and any industry that you want to align with, and they last for years. I have people, I have reps well into their mid 80s, late 80s. They're still vile. They're connected. They've pivoted. They know the technology, and truthfully, and all the people, all the producers, the directors, the package people, anybody that I deal with, I literally give them the task and walk away. They're all treated as adults. I know exactly what's going to happen, and I know it's going to get delivered when I need to.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I've got one last question here for you. The value that you've dropped on us, could be dissected down, through 3 books, like you said. And so I want to put a cap on that, because I think that they could go back and listen, because you've given so much. I want to change your perspective here real quick, and I want you to go back in time, and I want you to tap the shoulder of the younger Jeff. What would you tell him?
Boy, that one's tough, because I am a stubborn mule, and I probably wouldn't listen. I mean, I could go back to the people who tapped me on the shoulder, like my mentors, people that I respected and made tons of money. And the first thing they said to me, look, I've been in an unstable business, right? It's this way, it's this way. You could go months without seeing a dime or losing a ton, right? And then it happens. The advice has always been save for tomorrow. Save for tomorrow. Now, look, there may not be a tomorrow. You get hit by a car or whatever it is. Listen, I lost a number of people during COVID. I mean, so you just don't know. And I always live every day like it's my last. That might be the thing. I probably won't have a gravestone, but if it had, actually, he lived every day like it was his last. So you don't want to have regrets, but you also want to be able. There were a couple of things that you had sent me, and I'd still like to cover them if I could, and you could edit them out or make another show, make a small one. I don't care.
Yeah.
They're important for reviewers, and I love talking to you. You're amazing. You give off great vibe. You're positive. You're the kind of guy that anybody would want to do business with. Truthfully,
Appreciate that.
that's true. And I wouldn't say it. Believe me, I wouldn't say it. You want to make sure that you are doing something that enables you to do what you want when you want to do it.
Yeah.
That to me is success.
Yeah.
Right? So I still work the same hours. It's like 20 hours a day. I don't sleep a lot. I'm a huge advocate of napping. Make sure you nap, kids. It's important. I don't care if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes. You could take an hour and a half. You're a little sluggish after that. But I had trained myself literally since I was a teen. And when I had a job in the film business packing boxes and I was out partying all night, I literally the boxes were like 2 feet high. So I stacked them double and I stacked a single behind it, right? A single stack.
Right.
And laid on them and took 10-minute naps.
Yeah. I love 10-minute naps.
And that's when I was 22 years old. And to this day, when I feel my energy and my body close, and in my office, I always had a couch, and I would yell out to the staff. I go, nap, and shut the door and go to sleep.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to, that was fine. No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
Very, very important to make sure that your energy level for me is certainly is up. And that in fact, as I said, in the business, that you're able to do what you want when you want, and you're making clear decisions. And also, again, this 9 to 5, I knew I could never work for anybody.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like, okay, I'm going to work 4 hours and then I'm going to play word games, or I'm going to go work out or take a run or as I met the guys, I was in a think tank. Oh, this was a good one. Way back in the 80s, I was in a think tank with the guys who came up with Disneyland.
Wow.
Coolest thing. The guy owned a think tank in a round place, a round building in Ohio somewhere. I think his name was Vance, his last name.
Okay.
And ultimately, these guys got together, and they in the room. It had music, it had food, it had a chalkboard. It had all the things that you need in order to think. And it was round. Why is it round? Because that means there's no, nobody's at the head of anything. Everybody's equal, right? Everything is equidistant.
Yeah, I love that.
And the guy the thing that I sat in when I saw that, on his first, thing about the description of what he does. And it's the number one thing, take a short vacation. No, not go away. Take a walk to the museum, to a park, to the candy store, whatever it is that floats me for a music store, for sure. That is what is most important in terms of you being successful and being clear-headed and being able to communicate and to bring yourself back from the brink of frustration and stress, because once your head is cloudy, you can't think. You're frozen.
Yep. Yeah. You're not going to be able to operate at that moment, let alone the sequential moments that come after that. So it's just better just to stop the madness, take the nap, take the small vacation, whatever it is. I have to second you on those things, because although I don't nap often, when I feel that feeling that you're talking about of like, I need to get horizontal, like that's literally what goes through my mind. I'm like, I just need to get horizontal. So sometimes I will just literally lay down on the floor, put my hands behind my back or behind my head, pass out for 5 or 10 minutes. I wake up, I'm like, wow, I feel so much better. So I agree. In fact, actually, I'll tell you one other quick story that hones in on that. I was probably 21, 2, 3, right in that time frame. I used to sell in an inside sales job, sold advertising actually. And so we had a 10 o'clock break. I would go into a side training room. I'd close all the blinds. I'd put my alarm on my phone. We had a 15-minute break. I would set it for 14 minutes. I'd put it right on my chest, and ding, ding, ding. 14 minutes later, I'd pop up, jump right back on the phone. It was awesome.
I had it to the point where my brain was my alarm clock, where literally I could fall asleep and I still can count backwards from 5, 4, 3. By 3, I'm asleep. Okay.
Wow.
And there's a method to that. Like anything else, I did a sleep show. Of course I did.
Of course
I did a sleep show. I've sold everything that you could have. 2,000 campaigns. I've seen every product. I do thousands of products and continue to every day. I get them from factories in China. I just got one it was 80 cents. I'm like, this is the greatest invention ever. We have to look into this. It's enthralling to get this. But ultimately, sleep, right? Lay on your back prone. I used to teach people to sleep. Lay straight on your back prone, even though you sleep on your left or your right or your stomach. Make sure your spine is straight. Your throat is up so you get as much, air. Look through your eyelids, okay? And breathe very slowly through your nostrils, back and forth. And eventually your subconscious will take over. And once it does, you will find yourself rolling into whatever position you want. And you'll have perfect REM sleep every single time. And when I would do that, I would wake up and I would wake up. I'm so deep. I wake up and I go, oh my God, where am I? Oh, right. I'm in my office. So literally, and I could look at my clock within sometimes almost on the head, 10 minutes to the exact. That's how good the brain is if you train it.
Oh yeah. Okay. I believe that. That's for sure.
I want to just give you a piece of my background. I think it's important. And I think it's important for most of your viewers. I'll make it quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Even if I don't care. I mean, cut me out. I'm telling the story. Okay, you're sending me the tape. I'll make my own biography.
That's right.
I was born and bred New Yorker, born in Hell's Kitchen. I grew up on Long Island, in the middle of Long Island, very nice, tract 90 by 100-foot plots of land in the middle of Long Island. My grandparents are immigrants. They came through Ellis Island. I was there during the dedication of the Ellis Island with them. Great story. My grandparents are Turkish. They were Turkish. So I said, "Oh my God, Grandma and Grandpa, this is unbelievable. You know, they're dedicating it. You came through here. The boat came through New York Harbor. There's the Statue of Liberty. What? This must be an incredible feeling."
Right.
My grandfather was a taxi driver here in New York City for 35 years, whatever it was, a long time. Okay.
Wow.
And he was one of the first independent. Maybe that's where my entrepreneurial streak came, because he was one of the first independent gypsy cab drivers. But he had his own medallion, right?
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, this must be such a big occasion. You must feel so much passion. You know, I mean, you're an American and you made a life and you have, you know, a family and they have a family." And he looked at me and he goes, "Jeff, it was hot. It was crowded. Grandma didn't feel well. I changed my name. You didn't want to know from it." I was like, "Oh," you know, all the romance just got blown out. You know?
Totally blown out.
He was cool. He was the greatest. Ralph was unbelievable. I loved him. And another a lesson. Here's a great lesson in finance, economy, and money. So he has his cab. He lived in the Bronx. My father bought a house on Long Island, and he moved the family from the Bronx to Long Island. And my grandfather would drive his cab to the house. Okay, and my sister and I would wash the cab. And then he said, "For payment, I will take out the back seat of the taxi, because I have a lot of rich people who ride in my taxi. I have private accountants." We're like, "Okay, wow, great." So we washed the thing, and a short Turkish man, he'd look over the taxi. You know, "All right, you guys earn the money, right?" So he took out the back seat, which was held together with bakery string. He would never repair it. So we called him Mr. Fix-It, because he would take bakery string and repair the springs, you know.
That's awesome.
He didn't want to buy a new seat. So he'd take it out, and some days, some weekends, there was like 35 cents, 65 cents, you know, 3/4 and a nickel. And that was a lot of money back in the 60s. You get candy and stuff like for that. So my sister and I would split. Then other weekends he would come, and he'd open it up, and it was like $3.18. We're like, "Oh my God!" This is like hitting a jackpot, right?
Jackpot. That's right.
Right. So we're like, "Wow, this is great." And my grandfather would go, "Yeah, I picked somebody on Park Avenue up. There was a lot of, you know, they have a lot of money. You know, it must have came out of their pocket. Oh well." It took me 30, maybe plus years to realize my grandfather was right there.
What an incredible opportunity for any parents or grandparents listening. I talk a lot about, you know, my obsession with my family as well as my business and all the other dimensions of my life. But I love that story for that angle, because it was orchestrated. Architect. Your grandfather was purposeful and intentional about those moments. It wasn't by accident. And I think if anything, that's a phenomenal way to end. So I appreciate you sneaking that one in there.
Never take anything for granted, man. You never
That's right.
do. You just never know. There's no short things. Nothing takes 5 minutes. And,
right.
you know, and believe me, listen, hire older people. Don't lock it off to say, because we may not be technologically advanced, our knowledge, the way that things are done are no different now as they were 40 years ago. So please.
Yeah, I second that.
Out there and you're a business guy, man, you're missing out. You're totally
That's right.
off. I can tell you single-handedly. One more last thing. Please watch the Suki and Scott show on USA Today or any streaming network. I'm the executive producer. That's what I'm doing now. Executive producer, the director, and the producer of the Suki and Scott show. That's SUKI and Scott show. 14-time Emmy Award-winning host for the morning show here on WPIX in New York. He is also the host of several international WWE wrap-up shows. Suki is the host of the Sister Wives and a number of other things on TLC.
Wow.
We've had 450 shows, 850 guests, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony winners, comedians, musicians, everybody that you could possibly imagine. Chaz Wolfe could be.
Never know.
What's this next guy? You know, he's a pretty funny guy, good looking. Ladies might like him. We reach 400 million people right now. So
love that.
And as terms of my contact, I know you're going to ask that, so I'm going to
Yeah. Well, that's perfect. Tell us how we can contact you. Number one, specifically, because I want any business owners that might fit into the avatar that need your services, or if they're just looking to connect with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, and I answer all my calls and all my emails. And truthfully, I answer ones that most people don't think there's going to be. Like, are you selling your business?
Yeah,
I got 10, I think 8 of those in the last like week.
exactly. Yep, that's
Okay,
right.
so you can reach me at Jeff at Metzler Media. As I said, Meltzer, it's like seltzer with an M. I've been saying that since like 5th grade. Jeff at meltzermedia.com. You don't contact me through my website, although please do visit it. It's a really, really cool website, and I just had it redone. Facebook, you can DM me there. You can Instagram at edit Jeff, EDIT Jeff. LinkedIn is always a good place. I link up with many, many people. And by the way, you don't have to need my services, advice, consultation, or I am very, very big on connecting with venture capital people. I always have properties and things for sale or businesses to invest in. The show is entering a very interesting phase now. There may be opportunities there, and we're having advertisers, climb on board, but we're looking to really expand the show even further. So there's always, if you have an opportunity, I'm listening. And if I don't do it, I will recommend it to somebody. No problem.
Yeah, 40 plus years in business and media. Surely you know somebody. So, Jeff, you not only have been a show here today, but you've given value. And so I appreciate that. And I wish you nothing but success in your show that's going on right now. You already have it, but continued success and all the other things that you've got going on with all your clients. Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom with us.
Oh, man, it's been a pleasure. I hope I have added some value, at least a few laughs anyway.
That's right.
Any way I can help you or your audience. And truthfully, I am humbled and honored that you actually wanted me to be on your show. I was shocked. Man, when I looked you up, you are the real deal, my friend. And this is a great service for everybody, no matter whether they're in business or not. I totally appreciate it. And this is what podcasts are all about. This is why you are and will be the king of all podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.